Okay guys, welcome back to retention. Here we're going to talk about support, and this is vital. At the end of the day, you are scaling a business where people are going to pay you on a monthly retainer. That's not an excuse to ghost them. And a lot of you, I'm not saying you do, you're very competent, a lot of you, but respect the fact that these people are paying your wage. And in order for them to be successful, you've got to make their life, or you've got to make the process as easy to follow as you can in order to make it enjoyable. And when it's enjoyable and when they get the results and they like you, that's like a triple whammy where they're going to like stay on with you as a service and they're never going to question, am I getting enough here? It's that the value proposition. As soon as they feel the value is dropping below that price point and that money coming out every single month in the bank, that's when the questions start. That's when we get into the danger area of, okay, shit. They are starting to question, we want prevention rather than cure. Yeah, and again, it's being proactive, it's addressing that. So looking at levels of support is important. And if you are getting a lot of drop-offs, you really got to question, is this easy to follow? Is it them? Probably not. There's probably something going on and having those touch points. Now, the caveat to that is you've got to understand, is it worth, how much time and whatever you're charging, how does that match the support level? Because you can't be in a situation where you're giving them one-to-one Zoom calls every single week, 4 Zoom calls a month, and you're charging £100 a month. You're giving people so much airtime of you, so much contact with you, and that's unscalable. So there's swings and roundabouts, but we'll talk through it now. So on here, we've got like a value proposition where the value is increasing towards the top. The maximum you can do is meeting up them physically, being in person with them. Now, that's quite extreme, but every now and then, it's probably worthwhile for a bit of content to kind of feedback. And particularly, like, the time of shooting this is end of the year, in sort of Christmas time. So doing end of year reviews, meeting up with clients, it shows a lot of effort. And, you know, if you're kind of going to that level of attention with that person, they're going to feel good. You're going to give them that value, to give them that quality of your time. So that's the top. Beneath that, you've got 24-hour phone support. Then you've got 9-to-5 phone support. Obviously, you being accessible to them within different points of the day, directly calling you. That's a high level of value. Then you've got obviously chats where they can message you anytime. Most of you are probably familiar with that. Beneath that, you've just got accessible via groups. And then you've got, lastly, email access. Now, if you're working with Gen Pop, they don't need to pick up the phone to you and have like direct help too much. If you're working with competitors who are struggling on a prep, you probably need that level. And then when it comes to check-ins, you might, if someone's going towards the end of their prep, they're coming up to the show, very kind of sort of maybe about a month out, you might need a couple more touch points to kind of help manage them because it's a very difficult time of year for them. So understand your target market, what the needs are, and making sure you facilitate that to as much as possible. And again, making sure the price reflects that of what you charge. Because at the end of the day, if someone does need that support and they do need potential phone access to kind of help them out, and you don't feel you're kind of charging enough in that regard, it could be worth setting up a Zoom call with them, just talking through the options and laying it on the table. Because at the end of the day, your resources are finite. So it's just something to respect. Now, that's like direct contact. When you do check-ins, obviously, what we consider with check-ins is you've got Loom, you've got voice note, and then lastly, you've got text or email. And then another aspect is frequency. Similarly, multiple touch points. In your check-ins as well, how are you delivering them? What is your energy level like? Are you distracted? Is something going on behind the camera? Are you actually giving value rather than, yeah, mate, keep going? Yes, if you're doing it weekly, you need to keep things fresh. But if people are struggling, again, being proactive, if you notice that their lifts have not progressed on whatever software you're using, or if you're using Google Sheets, if you notice they're struggling with any steps, and yes, if they haven't done X amount of steps, call it out, but ask why. Think why. And again, it's us always trying to better ourselves. And when we see clients who are struggling, look at that as an opportunity to kind of improve the service level. And then, if you can offer improvement, we can then systemize it to make it a little bit more efficient for the next person. Every time you get a struggle, it's an opportunity to improve. Now, with check-ins, giving that value to make sure that the feedback, asking why, and then seeing what you can do to help that person out. Now, some of them, they will be lazy. So there's not much you can do because you're working with elements outside of your control. But being a bit cognizant, if someone struggles with steps and they're quite sedentary lifestyle, seeing what you can do, potentially using other methods of cardio, which have, if they're super busy, maybe high intensity, just trying to work with them as much as possible. And in terms of like helping them out beyond that, let's just say someone's struggling with food, finding out what their preferences are and creating resources for them can be really important and really valuable. So if someone is particularly, I don't know, if they're vegetarian and they're struggling like with protein adherence or trying to get their protein intake up, rather than just trying to argue the point, seeing what you can do to create a vegetarian options and maybe create a PDF out of that, maybe create a little bit of a video library out of that for that individual. And then next time you get a vegetarian or a vegan coming on, you have that resource ready. Similarly, if they're kind of out and about and they're working and they don't have the option to prep, now I say option, they don't prioritize prepping. Yes, not everyone's a bodybuilder, not everyone's as kind of committed to the process as you are. You need results from them. So in light of that, what can you do as a coach to make that process easy? If it's a question of looking at meal deal options, looking at the calories, seeing what options are the smartest and combining a way where you can give them on-the-go options, understanding what is local to them, that could be important. And at the end of the day, you can create a resource out of that. You can always use that as a future lead magnet. It's always trying to look at that other side of the coin of like, okay, if they're struggling, why? What can I do as a coach to make the process easy? And then you'll soon build up so much value. Your price point could probably increase because you've got all of this behind at your disposal. You can just chuck it to them, anyone struggling in the future. So that's kind of the main points with support. And if I can give you one takeaway, it's ask why. Don't like assume that that person's lazy, they're not working hard enough. I'm fed up with working with these sorts of people. Just assume that if there's something you can do to make their life easier and make the process easier, that's going to help you in the long run, improve your service and increase your price point. It's also going to help with immediate retention. And even if they feel like you're making an effort, they'll appreciate that and that'll go a long way. You can't do everything for them. Be aware of your price point. But at the end of the day, a little bit of goodwill, a little bit of effort, a little bit of thought is going to do more than enough to kind of encourage that person to make them think, fuck, okay, I'm being looked after. And that's 100% what support's about.